Welcome back, guys. Let's talk about accessories today. As I mentioned last week, we're finally out of lockdown here in Sydney, which means I can go anywhere. I'm no longer limited to just the 5Ks of where I live or my local area. And it's great that I can go and take pictures again the way that I really want to. In saying that, I have actually already taken advantage of the fact that I'm allowed to go and take photos. Earlier this week, I went back out to the Harbour Bridge because I'm trying to redo this particular photo of the Star Trails. It wasn't the best the first time I tried it, so I want to try and make it better. I'm just waiting for a perfectly clear night before I can do it. But I actually went down to Bondi Beach this morning to get some pictures from there because I've actually got a request to do a one-off piece for a customer. And it actually got me thinking, what accessories do we actually need as a landscape photographer to go out and take the photos that we do? Because there are so many accessories that you can choose from, but what are the crucial ones that you should invest in if you're just getting started? So that's what we're going to do today. Granted, these accessories are not limited to just landscape photography. They can be used in other genres as well, of course. Nor am I saying that if you want to be successful at landscape photography, you've got to go out and buy these accessories, because it literally depends on the type of photography you want to do. I know a landscape photographer who hates using a tripod and will do handheld as much as humanly possible. And he also hardly even uses a polarizer as well. And he makes amazing photos. So it literally comes down to the type of landscape photography you want to do as to whether all of these accessories that I'll mention today are of benefit to you as well. Full transparency, none of the brands I'm mentioning today have actually paid me to make this video, nor have they sent me any of these products. Everything that you're going to see here, I bought myself, and it's all my own honest opinion and how I think it's beneficial to landscape photography. Everything I do mention will be linked down below for you as well if you are interested in them, so to speak. The first accessory that we'll go over is something that I think you definitely should invest in, especially when you want to do landscape photography and have long exposures, and that is a tripod, and a good tripod, I should say. This is my three-legged thing Travis tripod, which I have done a full review on. I'll put the link in the description of the video for you below. You have to make sure it's not just a cheap tripod, but a good tripod. That way, if it's windy, if the ground's not stable, you're not worried about your tripod being knocked over and your camera on top of it and whatever else there may be, or getting damaged because your tripod's not that great, it's not that stable, and a gust of wind has knocked it over. And a good tripod is necessary because if you wanted to do long exposure and you don't have a good tripod, or any tripod for that matter, you've got to find somewhere else to put your camera and hope that it doesn't move at all for however long your exposure is. So like last week when I was showing how to use a 10-stop and it extended it out to 20 seconds, it was sitting on this tripod because I knew that this tripod is stable and is not going to move. Whereas if I put it on the ground, I would have been guessing and hoping it didn't move when potentially a gust of wind could have just made it wobble a little bit. Or if the ground isn't stable, it may wobble a little bit as well, and it's a risk I don't want to take. Tripods also come in handy because if you want to do techniques like panoramas, bracketing, long exposures, HDR photography, having your camera on a tripod ensures that you can have whatever shutter speed you need, but also that your composition never changes the whole time you are there. As an example, this Star Trails photo that I'm going to try and recreate once we have a clear night, I was able to do it because I set the tripod up properly depending on where the wind was, and I knew that I could put my camera on there to the exposure lengths I needed because they were about 2 minutes each, and the tripod wasn't going to wobble or shake and ruin the photo for me. Tripods also come in handy because if you want to do techniques like focus stacking or long exposure or exposure bracketing where you're blending multiple exposures together, with the tripod the only thing that's going to change is your settings, because by putting the camera on the tripod you're confident that the composition isn't going to change, and unless you've changed the focus point because you're doing focus stacking, your focus isn't going to change either, assuming you have it in manual focus. But at least by having it there, you're confident in the knowledge that your camera's not going anywhere, it's not moving, you don't have to worry about resetting it because it's there ready to go once you've got the settings dialed in for your particular photo. In combination with the tripod, I'd also recommend an L bracket. The main benefit of an L bracket is that it makes it very easy to change from landscape to portrait mode because you don't need to actually change the position of your camera. You literally are just rotating it 90 degrees on the same spot that it already is, versus hanging it off the edge of the bore head and then having to recompose, move your tripod, do whatever you need to do to get back that same composition that you did when you were in landscape mode. So at least with this, you literally just rotating your camera 90 degrees and it's got exactly the same composition you want, it's just in portrait mode instead. It also comes in handy if you like to do panoramas like me because your camera is going to be rotating on a more central point versus rotating around the edge of the tripod because you're hanging your camera off the edge of the bore head if you wanted to do a panorama in portrait mode versus landscape mode so that you can get more in your frame. Another accessory I'll say that you should get is a polarizer. Now, I've done a full review on my Nissi V6 filter system. I'll put a link to that video in the description for you below. But having a polarizer provides you with more options than not having a polarizer. Not only do you get the ability to alter the colors a little bit in your RAW files before you even start editing them, but when it comes to glare, reflection, and being able to see through water, what you can do with a polarizer can't be replicated in post. So if you don't have one and you wanted to get a certain effect, to try and fix that later on in Lightroom or Photoshop is very, very, very difficult. That having a polarizer just saves you a lot of time and provides you with a lot more options than if you didn't have it. So I'd say get a polarizer. It doesn't have to be the Nissi V6 one that I've got, but definitely invest in this if you like to do landscape photography, as it'll definitely help out a lot. In the water, the reflection, the sky, it comes in handy in so many places. The next three accessories I'll mention are nice to haves much more so than must haves. I've managed without these accessories for a while, but I have found that using them has helped in terms of convenience more than anything else. They do help me a little bit in being a bit more productive when I'm out there taking photos versus not having them. But whether you invest in these, again, it's completely up to you depending on how you take your photos. And the first one I'll mention is a wrist strap. I've got one from Peak Design. I deliberately chose this because I like how easy it is to attach it and detach it from the camera using their anchor points. I also know that having used these for a year now, 2 years actually, once it's attached, it's not coming off. It's going to stay there. But I do prefer a wrist strap over a camera strap because when you've got a camera strap and you use a backpack like I do, the only real way to carry your camera strap is to have it hanging over the front of your neck. If you wanted to do it diagonal, which is often more comfortable when it comes to carrying a camera, you've got to put the camera on first and then the backpack. But when you want to take them off, you've got to remember to take the backpack off first and then the camera, because otherwise you become a jumbled mess. So in that respect, having a wrist strap's a lot easier because you can just comfortably have it hanging off your wrist whilst you're walking along, and it doesn't take up as much space as a camera strap in your bag either. I mean, if you compare the two sizes, there's a significant difference there. Another nice to have, but one that I'm very happy that I purchased, is a camera clip. This is the Peak Design camera clip that I've got. You can get it either with or without an attachment plate. I got it without because since there's an Arca Swiss plate and my L bracket is an Arca Swiss plate and my tripod is an Arca Swiss plate, I didn't see the need to have any extra Arca Swiss plates since I've already got so many. The good thing is that this attaches very securely to your backpack strap provided you've tightened it down enough, and you can then hang your camera off it, so you don't have to worry about it hanging off on your wrist if you're using the wrist strap or around your neck. It's literally hanging there in your backpack ready for you to access. All you have to do is press the unlock button and lift your camera up, and you're good to go. So when you're walking around and you need your hands free, like when I was at Shark Point and I had to cling onto the rocks to move from one side to another, I attached the camera to the camera clip and I was able to move freely without my camera swinging around and bouncing everywhere. So having a camera clip, it's a nice to have, but it's definitely one that I'm very happy I do have. And last but not least is a camera bag. You don't necessarily have to have a camera bag. You can always just buy something like this insert, which attaches comfortably into my shoulder bag or any backpack that you've got. You can buy inserts like this. You can buy bigger inserts if you wanted to have compartments in your backpack as well, but you don't necessarily have to go out and buy a camera bag. I do like having a camera bag. I've got this one. It's the Lowepro Pro Tactic 450 AW2. I have done a review on this one as well. I'll put that video in the description for you below too. Let's get this bag out of the way first. I deliberately bought that camera bag because I like being able to organize everything when I'm going out to take photos. There's more than enough space to put both of my cameras, my filters, food, drink, my hoodie if I need to bring it as just in case, but also comfortably attach two tripods to the back of it as well versus one on each side. You can just go and get an insert like this and chuck it into a shoulder bag or a messenger bag like this one, because that's literally what I did today when I went to Bondi. I had my camera in here, I had the tripod on the outside and my filters and a bottle of water because I knew that was all I needed. And I was able to get away with it for the day. But if I want to go in and take photos and videos, then I would need my full-on camera bag because it can handle everything and carry it comfortably. And it's quite well put together. It's gone through 1 year of abuse, but it's still holding up very well. So those are the accessories I think you should look into if you want to start doing more landscape photography. Definitely start with a good tripod and polarizer and then work your way up from there depending on what you think is necessary. I went with a bag and then the L bracket first. The neck strap, wrist strap, camera clip, those are very much luxury items, much more so than necessary items when you want to go out and take photos because they're nice to haves more than must haves. There are workarounds if you don't have them, but it's completely up to you as to what you want to invest in. I'll leave it there for tonight. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you do have any questions about any of the accessories, please let me know in the comments down below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. If you have liked this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. That will be greatly appreciated, as it does give this channel a huge boost. And if you want to make sure you stay up to date with future videos, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and tick that little bell, because that way you'll get a notification whenever a new video comes out. I'll stop rambling there because I know that otherwise I'll ramble on in 50 million directions. And I'll call it a night, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a good night, everyone.